Hey guys, this is Rocky. Real quick, just another quick note at the top of the podcast. So when we were recording, we realized afterwards there were one or two little technical glitches. So in order to make the show as listenable as possible, we decided, for those few seconds, why don't we treat our listeners to a few seconds of the beautiful Sophie B. Hawkins classic, Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover. So, and it'll become apparent during the course of our discussion why we picked that song. So enjoy that, and I guess that's it. Oh, and this program this week is brought to you by nobody but Nature Box. Give us a call because I want some free snacks. Okay. Anyway, that's it, and enjoy the show. Bye.
By joining Pi Gamma Beta, you give up what you are for what you can be. By adding your blood, you give up yourself to become part of something greater than you ever imagined.
Hello, Erff, and welcome to Time of My Lifetime, the movie podcast where we talk about silly, crazy Lifetime movies from the 80s and 90s and make fun of them so you don't have to. Today, it's very exciting. We've got the whole squad back. Hey, guys. My name's Rocky, and as always, I am here with my two co-hosts. First, we have the beautiful, lovely, and talented Jules. Hello, Jules. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, doing fantastic.
You sound fantastic. And back from his busy business trip, we've got Jordan. Hi, Jordan.
Hey, Rocky.
How are you doing?
Good. So, just to clarify, we're
Yes.
off last names. I know there's been some debate previously.
Well, that's fine. Wait, did I say your last name?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
No, it's funny. Never mind.
I mean, everyone knows your last name when I tag you on Facebook and Instagram.
Right. So,
All right.
you can figure out who I am.
Well,
I've talked to tens of thousands of people over the phone, so my voice is like out there, even though pretty big time.
Okay. Well,
Well, my
This has
shit
been
was
hilarious.
hacked by like Target,
Oh no.
Shield, and the federal government. So like, my shit's out there too.
So you think that Target and the feds are listening to our little podcast? I suppose you never know. We should ask Edward Snowden. He would know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the Chinese that are listening to this because they hacked supposedly the federal government.
Oh,
That's
right,
right.
dude. Oh, yes. That's terrible. Well, how was your trip, Jordan?
Good. It was a good trip. Long trip. Happy to be back. Happy to be talking to you all. It's been I feel like it's been a really long time since we've done one of these. I mean, I'm constantly watching Lifetime movies on my own, but like, it's normally, I have no one to discuss them with because who else is doing that?
Well, hopefully our audience.
Right.
Well, should we get to today's fantastic movie?
Yeah.
This week, very excited. We finally watched what I think is a modern classic.
Classic.
You guys.
Totally classic. I can't believe I hadn't seen it actually. Until
I hadn't seen it either, but it's like I'd heard of it. And of course, Jordan, oh my God, look at Jordan's face.
I can't believe you guys have never seen this.
Well, we couldn't believe you'd never seen the Shannon Doherty movie.
I guess that's true. I told a couple people which movie we were doing this week, and a lot of people were like, I don't think I know that one. I'm like, yeah, it's the sorority hazing one, and they're all like, is it the one where they're like drawing on all the fat spots on all the girls? And I'm like, yes.
That was so terrible.
Everybody knows that.
I mean, maybe I did watch this. I don't know.
I was confusing it with Dying to Be Thin with Callista Flockhart.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, where she keeps the vomit in the jars in the closet.
Yes, that's one that we've not done.
Ooh.
I don't
hard to go down that eating disorder road.
That's not
It's just
ripe for jokes.
Yeah. Oh.
But This
Dying
one
to
certainly
belong
is.
though.
1997. But this one is ripe for jokes. 1997's Dying to Be Thin, starring...
Belong. Dying to belong.
No, dying to belong. I did it again. I said the name wrong of the movie again.
I got the name on this one for sure.
Dying to Belong. Yes. Starring two-time Oscar winner Hilary Swank. Yes. And the girl from Scrubs. Becky 2 from Roseanne.
Sarah Chalk.
I went 6 from Blossom.
Oh, and of course 6 from Blossom, who I hope you all enjoyed as much as I did.
Oh, and
otherwise known as Thunder Thighs.
Poor girl. Or Shelby.
Or Shelby.
Oh, and
I could jog all the way to Texas and back, but Shelby never could.
We're leaving out.
I want to know why.
The most important person, though, Zach Morris, as well.
Yes, plays her love interest.
It was a bit too creepy for my taste.
He was really demanding and controlling.
Really off about him.
Yeah, I didn't like him at all. I didn't like their relationship.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, he was.
He had such a disdain for the Greek system.
We'll get to that. Well, as we discussed, none of the three of us know from Greek, so it was not part of my college experience.
I know none of us have been in the Greek system, correct?
No, I haven't. Which is why the movie opens and they're doing like their initiation ceremony, and they're all like, it looks like they're praising Satan, right?
Yeah, it looks like some sort of druid satanic situation.
Yeah.
They're all wearing hoods in a basement.
Robes. There's a clock tower. There's roses. There's blood. There's signatures happening in blood. I mean, it's like textbook.
There's pentagrams everywhere.
And then they light a cauldron on fire.
When I was watching that opening scene, though, I was just like, aren't there other types of initiation ceremonies? Like, does everyone have to go to, like, the Masonic temple, the black hoods, the candles? Like, can't we get a little more creative with our rituals?
Well, all I know is that my dad said, and I don't know if I'm revealing any sort of state secrets or whatever, but he said... Probably, but, I won't say the name of his friend. Oh my god, they're gonna put a hood on my head and kidnap me. But he said that his initiation was he had to light a match and then say the entire Greek alphabet before the match singed his fingers. And then he was in.
Oh, that's so cute.
I know, right? Doesn't that sound fun?
I mean, that sounds like a fun challenge.
Exactly.
You know? You're using your memory, your
dexterity. Yeah.
Rocky, let's hope that piece of information doesn't have you wind up in a ditch, bound and gagged.
Well, we'll hope. That's why we're not using our last names. Hey.
I see now. So when the movie starts, it looks like I thought I had like recorded The Craft by accident, right? It was
If only.
Very weird.
You know what movie is better than Inception? The Craft. My favorite drug quotes I've ever heard. Shout out to Franzo.
Shout out to Francesca.
So I forget how we normally do this. Does somebody want to do like a 30-second summary?
Do a quick summary, Jordan.
Hilary Swank wants to join a sorority. Actually, she doesn't. Her mother wants her to join like her old sorority, and so she does. Where with her new best friend Six from Blossom, and Six dies. How does Six die? Well, I guess
she has to hang that banner from the clock. It's like during Hell Week.
Yeah, so she's supposed to hang like a banner from the clock tower, but she dies. She falls off and dies, but we don't really see why. I guess.
Yes, that's the mystery. Like, was she pushed? Was she drunk and she fell?
Right.
And so Hilary Swank has to solve the murder of her.
Hilary Swank and her boyfriend, her intrepid newspaper reporter boyfriend, Zach Morris, have to solve the crime, sort of. And then...
but meanwhile, like, the sorority is being shady and trying to frame her and discredit her in a number of ways.
Right. And her mother is doesn't
terrible.
Believe anything she says.
Her mother is the worst.
And then eventually, she convinces the detective, and they solve the crime, or she solves the crime by like getting them to admit that like Sarah Chalk had like pushed Six to the limit, basically, and she like slipped and fell and died.
Because Six was a very troubled, I would say.
She was
very insecure.
She was very eager to please. Yeah, you know that this movie was going to take like a pretty, well, aside from the title, you knew that this movie was going to take a pretty dangerous turn, because when it opened on a young woman being kidnapped by hooded figures thrown into a van.
I forgot about that.
And screaming, I can't breathe! And immediately, like, my heart is racing, because this is a fucked up prank, okay? Pranks are fucked up, and I'd like to talk about pranks in general here. But the girl is thrown into the van, and she's like, I can't breathe! And she's being taken to an unnamed location. Finally, they're like, oh, you want out, you little baby? You can't breathe? Here. And they throw her on the ground in the middle of the woods at night. And then a car starts revving its engine and blinking its lights at her. And so she tries to run away and then falls to the ground. And then the last image you see is like the car coming at her and her screaming. Oh, and before the car, you assume that she's killed by the car, but before the car hits her and she's thrown to the ground, she says, please, I don't have my medicine.
I was afraid you weren't going to mention that.
No, that part like broke my heart, and it was just like, see, this is what can happen. You can fuck with someone who has like asthma or a serious disease, and if they're away from their medicine and you fuck with them too hard, they will die, and then that's on you.
Yeah. But then they're gonna die if you hit them with a car anyway. Like, what is this prank?
Also that.
Yeah, right.
Like,
also that.
It's like we hit her with a car.
Haha, we got you. We ran you over with a car. Like, what? What is this prank? Like, this is the worst prank ever.
I'm just not into pranks. I don't like them.
Yeah.
The whole concept of Hell Week and like, we're gonna kidnap you and like terrorize you and terrify you, and it's all in the name of sisterhood and fun.
Well,
like,
I had a question about Hell Week. So, like, is Hell Week, like, actually, like, a week long? Or is that, like, a misnomer and it's, like, a month long? Because, like...
I think it's longer than a week.
Yeah, okay, because, like, Mark Paul Gosser is, like, talking about, you never have time for me anymore, and she gets fired from this school newspaper because her articles aren't up to snuff, and she's just like, I have so much to do. I'm like, but isn't it just a week?
No, I think you're right. I think it's like multiple weeks. I think it's like they're scrubbing the floor with their toothbrushes and
sneaking into the dean of students' mansion.
No, well, the moment where they're doing one of the initiations in the clock tower with the candelabras, and the cloaks, and the chanting, if there was chanting, right? Probably.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think there was...
No, she's like remember unity, togetherness.
Don't all of those old clock towers just emit, like, chanting? If you're one of those, like, old stone clock towers that's, like, from the 1700s.
Well, it's very echoey. It would sound good.
Chanting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's what those Gregorian chants, you know.
Yeah, if those chants were used for good and pleasure as opposed to terrorizing people. But when they're accepted to the sorority and they do the initial initiation, they all have to. Sarah Chalk says something like totally fucked up, and you're like, if you have a thinking brain, you would immediately just be like, this is not for me. And she's like, you give up yourself, you give up everything you know for something new. To become someone new, and then you prick your finger and sign your fucking name in blood. Like, Hilary Swank was
well, technically, you just
what do you mean? I I'm still me, right, guys? They're like, no, you're a sister.
One of us.
But
no, get up and play pool.
I've
never
always
seen so many women play pool casually.
Yeah, and they all wear Doc Martens in that sorority.
Oh, this was like
Doc
90s
Martens and flared. Oh yeah,
huge jeans,
huge
wide leg jeans that were very short, boxy tops.
Very mom, really, mom waists,
and really bad haircuts, like horrible haircuts. Hilary Swank had a very unflattering haircut.
Speaking of haircuts, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Hilary Swank's first roommate.
Blue.
Oh yeah, please talk about Blue, who seemed like such a nice person.
She really did. She seemed really cool. So yeah, her taste in music, like whatever. But
I was actually, when Hilary Swank comes into her college dorm, she opens the door and there is a short, blue-haired punk woman, like jamming, dancing in the room.
Like enjoying herself so joyfully. She was getting so much joy from her music.
It was joyful. Hilary Swank walks into the room. She sees Blue, short hair, dancing like crazy, and I'm just like, oh, they're gonna make her be like a really mean punk, because that seems like what a Lifetime movie would do. But instead, Blue like turns off her music. She's like, oh hey, hi, I'm Sarah Becker, but my friends call me Blue. I took the right side. Is that okay? If you prefer, we can switch. No big deal.
All right.
She seems really accommodating and lovely.
I don't know. And Blue's like, okay, cool, let me know if you need anything, or like a shoulder to cry on, if you want to borrow a sweater, like, it's all good. And then Blue turns her music back on and starts dancing like no one's watching. Okay? She's actually doing that. She's actually dancing like no one's watching, which is so hard to do.
Well, I did think it was rude, though, that she...
And Hilary Swank just slumps on the bed, like, oh, boy.
Well, I did think it was rude that she didn't ask before...
I'm gonna have to kill this bitch. She's crazy.
Well, I did think it was rude that she just turned the music back on without asking, you know, because it was very loud.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird that she turned the music back up and then proceeded to dance again, like no one was watching. Like, she wasn't having a private moment. She's like, this is me, this is Blue, this is what I do. I dance with the music.
But she seemed like a very joyful person, and then later...
She was a very nice, joyful person, and she was cool, man. Like, she had good... You know, she was interesting looking, and
then later, like in the line for registration, like Hilary's like standing there, and then Six walks up, and they meet for the first time, and like Six is like, "Oh my god, I have the roommate from hell," and like Hilary Swank is like, "I know, me too," and it's like, you don't have the roommate from hell at all.
No, she just goes like this. She goes, "My roommate's hair is blue."
You guys.
And then Six is like, "Oh my god, are you serious?" Yeah.
And so they proceed to throw Blue out of the room.
Yeah, by pretending that they were Girl Scouts in high school, and they met each other at Scout Camp 3 years ago and had no idea that they were going to be together at the same school. So, Blue, you got to get out.
Yeah, they're just like, Blue, take your boombox, take your skateboard, get the fuck out.
And Hilary Swank is literally picking up her stuff, takes her poster off the wall, and puts it in her arms.
You could just switch doors like that.
No.
Like, that's so mean. It's like, get the fuck out.
You've just been assigned. And also, how does she only have, like... I guess when I went to college, I just had so much shit. I had like,
so much shit.
A husband, God. You know those like husband pillows?
Hey, that's how
I had one of those. I had one of those lap desks that was like a beanbag. With
that would have been much better.
I wouldn't have even been able to carry my husband and my lap desk out there on one trip. I would have had to make for the amount of shit that I brought to college. I mean, it not too bad.
most. It was her duffel bag with presumably, a leather jacket and her boombox and her skateboard.
Well, I would imagine you have to, like, travel light when you're, like, riding the rails and such. Like, Blue probably was, growing up. She just has her stick and bindle and her boombox. Yeah. That's all she needs, and, like, maybe a can of beans.
So they throw Blue out, and then Hilary Swank's mother wants her to join the sorority, so they start, like, shopping around.
Yeah, they start shopping around, like, all the sororities instead of just the one, and finally, it's like, this sorority's too boring, this sorority's too wild. And then they get to...
and this one's just right.
They get to Pi Gamma Beta, and it's just right.
Total Goldilocks situation.
Everyone's blonde except Paige.
Fat Paige.
It's brunette and fat.
Poor Fat Paige. I feel so bad for Fat Paige.
Oh my god.
It's like she always had to go first in all of the things, like all of the humiliations. And they always called her fat, no matter what the humiliation was. It's like, oh, look at Fat Paige, like, scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush.
I loved when they were, the sorority sisters were selecting the new recruits, and how they had a slide projector in their living room, and they were flashing still images of each prospective, like, pledge. And, like, it's just like Paige, and then everyone's like, someone just yells, like, fat.
She's fat.
We have a reputation to uphold, ladies. Too fat. And it's just like Paige looked like a normal, beautiful woman. And then they flashed to Six's picture, and she just looked like a deer in the headlights, like so scared.
They're like the ultimate wannabe.
And they knew, yeah.
That's nice.
You guys,
when they cut to Six, who's like standing outside, like hugging the tree, like while they're like doing their secret vote, and she's just like watching them like a serial killer.
Six had some issues, man.
She couldn't even see in those windows. I don't know what she was looking at.
I know, she's just staring at the outside of the house.
And she just
like, go home, eat a pizza, gain that fresh to 15, girl.
I mean, all she could see was just like the light from the projector, like clicking. She had no idea what was on the screen. Because she was like standing like across the street and 2 houses down. It made no sense to me.
No, it made no sense.
And then she goes home and she's crying and she's like, I'm fat and I'm ugly and no one likes me. And Hilary Swank's like, you're beautiful.
She's also the worst fake crier. Like, she's terrible fake crier. Like, she fake cried like 5 times in this movie, and each one was worse than the next. It made me want to real cry.
She's not a great actress. Six.
No. I don't know that she did much after Blossom ended.
I saw her in an episode of Wife Swap once.
Oh. I think she has like a column on people.com about being a mother.
Oh, good for her.
Really? Alright. Can we talk about the hill climb for a second?
Yes, we can.
That was so weird. I would like some help processing what happened.
So, just to reiterate, none of us have been in the Greek system, but there was a couple of events that happened in the course of the movie, and I was just like, what are they doing? And is that something that people actually do? There was the part where they were planting the flags, right when Six died. They're like, we're planting flags! Do y'all remember that?
Isn't that like... I mean, that's just like a stupid prank, right? Because like in high school, I had friends who used to take plastic spoons and put it all over people's yards. And then you wake up in the morning and be like, I just got spooned.
So that's like a prank? Like planting... I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I think it's just to like annoy people and make them clean up your shit.
And there was also the hill climb.
I just want to say, I don't like that. Do you guys support pranks? Yes.
I support harmless pranks. I don't support...
It's like, so a bunch of teenagers planted a bunch of, like, little, like, flags in my yard? Like, all right. I mean...
I'm not mad at that, you know?
Okay. I don't know what was on them. What year was this? 1997? I think they were, dole for president on those flags? I don't know what those were.
Well, you could get those at a discount in 1997.
97, yeah. 97. Yeah. Huge discount.
They're deeply discounted.
We don't need these anymore. But like, so they do that hill climb. You're the like when they're still like trying to figure out which sorority.
I think it's like during like rush week, and then they go to like a party out in the woods, like Hilary Swank and Sex. And at first, it's like the girls in the sorority seem really nice, and Sarah Chalk is like, "Oh, your mom called and said that you know you were gonna come by, and let me show you all the old pictures of her." And she seemed really sweet. And then they get to the party out in the woods, and she's like, "Oh my god, you guys finally made it, so glad you're here." And then they're all like, "Chug this vodka, get on this rope, you're gonna race her up the hill on the rope, do a shot, and then come back down, and no holds barred, brother."
Like when she tries Terry was clearly juicing. Like, she was a madman.
She was crazy. She was taking some steroids or some sort of human growth hormone or something. Cause like, she was,
I will crush you.
She was too wild.
Yeah, it was insane. And she had like crazy braids.
Yeah, she did. She had like box braids.
She had box braids.
Like, oh, and she was a white woman with box braids. Yeah, and I know that, you know, Elle Magazine and Mary Claire tell us that that's the new thing in ethnic fashion, but...
Oh, right, because Kendall Jenner started doing it, so they're like, "Oh my god, have you guys ever heard about this?
Have you heard about box braids?
Have you ever heard of this style?
Oh my god, it's so ethnic and urban.
And new. I don't think anyone's ever done this before.
Has anyone done this? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Terry and the hill climb.
Terry's attitude and her, like, terrifying nature was more of a problem than her box.
She reminds me a little bit of Joe from, Joe from Blanche and Joe and Tootie.
Facts of Life.
What's Joe? What?
Facts of Life.
She reminded me of Joe from Facts of Life.
Was Joe the blonde one?
No, she was like the tough one.
Like, yeah. What's her name? Oh, whatever. No, but Jo was nice, though. She was tough, but she was nice.
Oh, yeah.
Tracy's a bitch. Okay. Like, she's not
Terry
cool at all. Or Terry.
Terry was
Terry was a terror. Let's just call her Terror.
Terry the Terror. Because she's the one that called Fat Paige fat.
If I were going to put Terry... I was going to make Terry stand on the table wearing a bikini and point out her flaws. I would circle her mouth and say, "Maybe you should try saying nicer things."
Well, you know what? I bet that's why Terry's the way she is, because she got up on that table and they ripped her to shreds, and she had to build herself back up with an armor, you know?
Everything that happened in this movie about hazing is like all the shit that I thought about hazing. Like everything that I heard about hazing or read about hazing as a young person.
So you've always been anti-hazing, you're saying?
Huh?
So you're anti-hazing?
Yeah, I'm anti-hazing, but also I really liked how this movie showed all of the classic.
Are you? Okay.
I'm very pro-hazing.
For this movie, I was pro their hazing techniques because they were so extreme.
It really was like psychological warfare.
Like, the point of hazing is that we're going to make you feel so bad that in the end you will love us, meaning like the elders, because now we're nice to you, or like they make you feel so bad that you really bond with everyone else because you're all in the bad space. Is that like the point of it?
I think it's more the latter and a bit of like, you know, tradition. Like we all did this. Like you're not the only person.
So I was gonna say, this movie, this is definitely a very anti-hazing message in this movie. It's like, why couldn't they just do like a ropes course or like a trust fall?
Well, they did do a ropes course. There was a rope on that hill that they had to climb up and then do shots.
That's true. That was a very violent ropes course.
It was.
Very...
But what I was saying earlier is that I think it's like, a bit of sort of like we're going to break you down or whatever so that you love us when we, more when we decide to love you or whatever the fuck. And, but then also like a bit of like the tradition of it, like we all went through the same hazing rituals and now like, we're passing this bullshit down to a new generation so you can continue the tradition and whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like there'll never be an N-word in SAE, those people, and all of that.
And like the whole time Hilary Swank is like telling like her mother and anyone that will listen about like the hazing, and like her mother's like, oh, it's nothing. Like I don't like when it starts to get pretty dark near the end, and like
I don't understand that for a second. So the university administration is in cahoots with the Greeks, along with the police department at large, I guess, except for that one detective who sort of starts to care at the end.
Yeah.
And nobody, like, they know for a fact that girl almost got hit by a car.
Yeah.
As a prank. Spoiler alert, she doesn't die.
Because they pay her off.
Yes, they pay her off.
And they put her in an apartment, like, off campus. It's so bizarre.
And, like, as soon as, like Zach Morris starts sort of hinting at maybe accusing someone of some sort of wrongdoing in the university administration, everyone jumps on him.
Yeah, and he starts getting, like...
beat up all the time.
The frats attack him a handful of times, and...
The frats are terrifying. Those frat guys were, like, super terrifying to me.
So were they working at the behest of the Pi Gamma Beta girls?
Yes.
Yeah, it was Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. They were like their brother fraternity, sorority, sisterhood house, whatever the fuck. Yeah. They were like, absolutely.
Can we talk about the dean's hair?
Yes! That's my favorite character of the whole movie.
How is she? Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. David Lee Roth.
I'm just going to say it now. That was my favorite character.
All right, well, speak on it. Preach,
Just her hair?
Just her hair. Because I was like, I don't know what you're saying, where you're looking. I'm just looking at what's on top of your head. And it is, wow, spectacular.
How would you all describe that? What was that fashion? What was that?
It's like a very sort of 80s...
It's a mullet.
Well, yes, it's a mullet. But like
it's
a very...
mullet, but like a tasteful, office-appropriate mullet. But it is high.
I mean, she's giving me like executive realness, shoulder pads, wears sneakers when she walks into work, and then changes into, sensible heels. Sort of like it had a little bit of edge to it, sort of like, butch lesbian.
It was a lot.
Shit kicker.
Yeah, I feel like it was a real statement that I think, the thing is, I think she came up at a time when it was really hard for women to get into positions of power. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm going to work this, and I'm going to raise my hair high and just let you, like, I'm going to own the space that I occupy. So you can't look away. You can't not listen to me when I talk to you.
It's like in the back.
I'm going to confuse you a little bit.
It's like in the back. It's like in the front, I'm all business, but in the back, I'm all woman. That's what she was saying.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was like, I'm feminine. This is a dusty blonde color, but it's like a dusty blonde, right?
Yeah, she kind of looked like Christy McNichol on Empty Nest. Did anybody else watch that show? Yeah, right?
Yeah, but longer. But it was longer.
But longer.
It was blonder.
Yeah.
I loved Christy McNichol on Empty Nest.
I loved her too. She was awesome. She was
I loved her so much.
Her and Park overall, like the nurse, like the sassy Southern nurse. Anyway, hi Jordan.
I watched that show all the time.
I watched it all the time because it was on right after Golden Girls.
I'm just daydreaming about the dean's hair, and also shouldn't it have been the president of the university like handling this? It's just
you
like
would have thought.
Dean.
How does the dean of students like live in that huge mansion?
Oh, she has a huge house,
like that huge gated mansion with hounds that were literally, she
Hounds
literally
were
released
chained.
hounds.
Terrifying. Yeah, it's like clearly students have tried to hop the fence before, and she's just like, I'm not gonna play. You step into my gated home, I'm gonna sick the hounds on you.
Like, not only am I going to expel you for jumping the gate and sneaking onto the grounds of my home, I just might kill you. That's the dean of students.
I must have missed that. Like, why they were trying to get in.
There was like a statue. Yeah.
Yes.
They were gonna pick up and steal like a stone statue.
Yeah, so they were trying to figure out how to.
Saw the statue.
So they were trying to figure out how to steal the statue. So Six, with her like thirsty ass, was like, "I'll jump over the fence," and they were all like, "Cool, great." And then she like jumps over the fence, and then all of a sudden, like this Doberman comes out of nowhere and like tries to eat her, and then she's like screaming, and then like. Then the spotlights come on, and then she's trying to get over the fence, and the dog's barking, and then finally the dean comes out, and she's like, "Parker, you stop it right now!"
Yeah.
Which I think that's a cute name for an attacked Doberman, Parker.
That's pretty.
Yeah, but it had like columns and balconies and balustrades and gargoyles and shit. Yeah, it was a fucking palace.
I guess I'm not familiar enough with like the bureaucratic structure of the university system to know like where if she's like the dean of all students, like how high does that rank? Pretty high.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if like, you know, college movies passed, you know, like Animal House or whatever, the dean of students is very important. I couldn't tell you who the dean of students at my college was if he stood if he stood up in the soup, but
did you say stood up in the soup?
Yeah, I couldn't tell who he was. If he stood up in me soup, it's a fun British thing that British people say.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said if he stood up in a suit. And I was like, yeah, him and all those other suits.
He's laying that pie. Laying that pie.
Laying that pie. That's so much more friendlier and appealing than the other thing you actually said.
Well, but it doesn't really make sense, though.
I don't care. I like pie.
All right.
So, also, can you explain to me, like, was it supposed to be a mystery how Six, like, actually died? Like, were we supposed to think that they murdered her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird. I never thought they pushed her. I thought they were just like, do it. I'm afraid. Do it anyways. Do whatever we say. And then she's like, oh, fuck.
Right.
But I guess, I mean, that's what I thought too, but I guess I wouldn't have put it past Sarah Chalk's character, because she seemed like so psychotically devoted to the cause of Pi Gamma Beta that she would have pushed her over if she had been like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I think we were kind of maybe supposed to think that, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy.
Why would they want a death on their hands?
Well, why would they do so?
They're power hungry and they get out of hand and they can't rein it in, and then before you know it, someone's dead.
I mean, like, but why do they do so many things? Like, why do they think that the appropriate response to somebody writing an op-ed against hazing in the school newspaper is to take a baseball bat to all the windows in his car, beat him up, and then stick a copy of the piece on his windshield?
Oh, there were numerous crimes committed in this. Like those two guys at the end that kidnapped. That was like an episode of I Survived. They kidnap her, bound and gag her, and throw her in the river.
In the middle of winter.
In the middle of winter.
That was horrible.
That was
fucking horrible. Who are these people?
Those two guys are going to prison forever.
And can I just tell you
they probably aren't. They probably graduated and went on to run their daddy's company.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course they did. But let me tell you that scene.
They totally sold you a loan for your apartment, Jordan.
But let me tell you that scene, though, the end of that scene is illustrative of the reason why I do not like Zach Morris, and I do not like their relationship, because I appreciate that he drove around all night trying to find her, but she was wandering around the woods all night in her wet clothes, probably thank God she didn't freeze to death. I'm sure she must have had some sort of frostbite on her toes or whatever. So he finds her, he puts a blanket around her, and instead of like immediately putting her in the warm car and driving her to the hospital, he's just like, I've been looking all night for you. Kissy kissy. I can't believe I thought I would never see you again. I'm so happy that I found you. And it's like for 5 minutes, it's like, get her in the fucking car and take her to the hospital.
I was thinking the exact same thing. And Rocky, when he was like creepily touching her face and kissing her and being like, sweetie, honey pie, whatever the fuck, like, he was making me so uncomfortable that I actually thought in that moment, like
he's so
is
creepy.
he in on this? Like, I really thought that he was in on it for a split second because I was like, how on earth could he find her? I'm just gonna go down this random highway road and beat my horn. She's bound to show up. It's like, really? That's your tactic? And it worked? It's like, I don't know. Like, I actually suspected him as being like,
he knew though from the girl at the beginning that they do kidnap people and like leave them in the middle of nowhere off of like this like road out there, you know.
I mean, still, but it's still a large wooded area.
I know. I'm just saying, like that's you know. So yeah, he was driving around.
But there's so many reasons why that relationship was not a good. Like at the beginning, like it just took me back to being like 18 years old. And, like, meeting, like, an older boy, and then all of a sudden, just, like, he's all, like, you know, they go to, like, some journalism, because he works for the school newspaper, and they meet while she's trying to get a job there or whatever, and that school newspaper is very serious.
Very serious.
They all take their jobs very seriously.
Black guy from Baywatch took that newspaper very, very seriously.
Except he was in the administration's pocket the whole time. But anyway, but so then they meet, and then they hate each other at first, and it's like moonlighting and bicker, and then it's like, oh, but actually we like each other, and you're sweet, or like whatever. Will you come with me to the Carl Bernstein lecture? Sure. And then, like, he totally negs her when they go to get ice cream afterwards, and he's like, well, you know, it's like they say in that book, and she's like, oh, I never read that book, and he was like, you never read that? Okay.
Yeah.
And then she's in the library reading the book.
Classic asshole. Classic asshole. I'm gonna make you feel stupid for what you don't know, but it's really a flirting technique.
Wait, but
you're gonna think that I'm so smart, and then you're gonna want to bone me.
And then she does. He finds her in the library. He's reading the book that he.
Talk about the music here.
Thank you. I can't believe you would have mentioned it. Like,
I was waiting for you to mention it. I want you to.
The leitmotif of their relationship.
Because that song played at least 3 times in the movie. Because, like, as he's courting her, if you will, like in 3 separate scenes where he's like courting her. It's damn.
I wish I was your lover. Oh, maybe should that song be the intro?
No, it has to be.
Right.
It has to be
Dying to Belong.
Because like every
which actually
scene
sounds like a dark kind of like Townes Van Sant. I'm just driving in my car by myself.
Every scene had like its own original music. It was just like when we were talking about Married at First Sight last week.
It's pretty impressive.
It really is impressive.
But it was all like fake 90s sounding bands. Like there was a song in the beginning that sounded like the B-52s, but definitely wasn't the B-52s.
Oh no, I know that song. It's You Make Me Wanna Walk Like a Camel.
That might be the only song then, because I was literally Shazamming the music while I was watching this, because I was like, what are these songs? Almost none of them came up, unfortunately.
Okay, so
that song is, I'll just tell you, that song is by the Southern Culture on the Skids.
Wow, well, I'm going to be looking
at that. It's called You Make Me Wanna Walk Like a Camel.
Oh,
but like Dying to Belong sounds like fake Chris Isaac and I don't know.
I dig Dying to Belong.
It was fine.
Hear that in full.
It had sort of like a
also
dark Gin Blossomy.
Sophie B. Hawkins did not sing. It wasn't the Sophie B. Hawkins version of Damn I Wish I Was Your Lover.
But it was the same lyrics, and I was like, I found myself like the third time that it played when they were like fucking in the newspaper office.
Yeah.
Like I was actually like listening to the words, and I was like, am I hearing that correctly? And I just pulled up the lyrics to the section that had me.
I know what you're talking about.
So, damn, I wish I was your lover. I'd rock you till the daylight comes. Made sure you're smiling and warm. I'm everything tonight. I'll be your mother.
Yes!
I'll do such
Not the
things to
same
ease your
thing.
pain, free your mind.
It's
You won't
fine.
feel ashamed. Shucks. For me, there is no other. Shucks, as in, interjection.
Shucks. For me, there is no other.
You're the only shoe that fits. I can't imagine I'll grow out of
Grow
it.
out of it.
Like,
Yeah.
I'll be your mother?
The mother thing is creepy.
That's creepy. That's not sexy.
That's like, I'll nestle you in my bosom after we make love.
And that song plays 3 times through the movie.
3 times.
3 times. The
I
same
have to
song.
say, I also noticed in this movie, like, which I don't notice very often in movies, was the sound editing. Because, like, I just felt like there would just be songs that were playing a little bit too loud and a little bit too prominently when, like, actual dialogue was happening. That being one of them. Like, they would be talking and having, like, a conversation, and it would be like, damn, I wish I was your lover, at, like, the same volume, almost. And I'm like, I can't listen to what you're saying and also listen to what this faux Sophie B. Hawkins is singing about.
Well, because there were a lot of scenes of, like, parties and stuff, like that first scene where she and Hilary Swank and Six decide to go out, and there's that, like, stereotypical, like, frat party, like, everyone's out on the porch and, like, whipping their hair back and forth and fake puking over the side, and the music's so loud, and they're trying to have a conversation, and of course the conversation's just like, oh my god, this is wild. I know, right? But, like, still, it's like, I don't know, there might have been some sort of important
that's the
story
thing
point that was,
song.
and I just missed it.
Yeah,
that Jules said she knows because it was so loud.
It was so loud, yeah.
I was like, what is this music?
And that's when they're first introduced to the girls from the sorority, and you can't hear what they're saying the first time that they're introduced to each other.
That's right, you can't hear a word they're saying because the music is so loud. It's like Blue is standing there with her boombox just like cranking it.
I want to know what happened to Blue. Well, anyway.
I know.
So what do you guys think of Hilary Swank? Do you guys have feelings about Hilary Swank?
In this movie or in general?
Either way. Whatever the question means to you.
She looks 20 years older than a college freshman.
She really does. And when she showed up and she was wearing that trench coat on the first day, I was like, what 18-year-old like shops at like Ann Taylor Loft? Like, no. Take that off.
Yeah.
All
she
the
looked like
turtlenecks.
a full-blown woman.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of those women in the sorority did also. They were like, I mean, Six was like an age-appropriate college student to me. But all the other girls were like, you are women.
Yeah, they looked, they definitely looked like they should have placed out for a sorority by now, right? Like,
yeah. I looked up, I guess when this movie came out, Variety wrote about it.
Really?
Amazing. They did a review. And this is what they said. They said, no one's doing much acting, and director Graham seems hung up on the premise that the telepic's serious. Swank's appealing, but the character is a blank. Gosseler gives his role the old college try, but nothing's there. Von Oy suggesting there could be more to her part than is apparent. Find it.
Oh my god.
It continued. Camera work and editing are perfunctory, and Roger S. Crandall's production design conventional. Michael Tavera's score is monotonous.
There was a score? It wasn't just like faux 90s bands just lined up on the soundtrack, one after the other?
Yeah.
What was the score?
It was just one guy making all that music? If so, that's pretty impressive.
It's not one guy making all the music. He put the score together. But
like a music supervisor.
Oh.
Yeah. And then the New York Times actually reviewed it also.
What?
It's hard to believe that these things... I know that these movies are being reviewed. But the New York Times said about Swank's acting...
And being reviewed and not being reviewed in like an ironic way. They were legitimately
reviewing this. Yeah.
Not like us. No.
Not like our podcast where we're just ripping into it. About Swank's acting, they said that she gave an excellent account of herself in this made-for-TV movie.
What?
Isn't that a weird thing to say? She gave an excellent account of herself. Are they saying that, like, yeah?
She actually lived this. This really
she
happened to her.
That's what I'm saying. We know about Hilary Swank's background. And was she hazed in a sorority?
I don't know. Did you look up that?
No.
Whether Hilary Swank ever talked about hazing? I'm sure she's anti.
Why was Variety and the New York Times writing reviews of this movie?
I have no idea. It shocked me. I was looking at the Wikipedia page to find information about the music, obviously.
Well, because back in the day, these were like... Well, because back in the day, these were like exciting movies of the week. You know, you'd tune in on like a Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty star-studded cast.
Yes, a lot of young up-and-comers.
Right.
So, yeah. No, I kind of feel the same way about Hilary Swank in that I don't really have any feelings, and she sort of seems like a blank slate with sort of an old face. Not to be mean. I don't mean that in a mean way. Just, she seems like seasoned, mature.
Old for college.
Yeah,
she was like 35.
Exactly. Yeah. She shouldn't have been playing an 18-year-old, even I guess if she was 18. She just doesn't read 18.
Right. Does anyone want to discuss her mother briefly?
Oh, fuck her. She made me so mad.
I know.
Her mother doesn't believe, like, a goddamn thing she says until she gets, like, almost raped and kidnapped and murdered.
But the thing that made me so crazy about the mother and, like, the police is that this girl is coming to you with very plausible, credible concerns. Like, people have...
First person accounts. She's like, no, for real, they made me eat glass.
But, like, people have...
And everyone's just like, that, no. People don't do that to each other. Sisters don't do that to each other.
It's like by the end, like someone has died, and we already know that there's a pattern of behavior with this particular sorority where people are dying or almost dying, and psychological torture, and it just blows my mind that her mom was just like, "Oh, sweetie, why don't you go back and go be with the girls for a couple of days? Like, they're your friends. You need your friends." And she's like, "They're not my friends." She's like, "You say that now."
She was terrible, terrible mother. And the cop who, I don't know if that was Brian Dennehy's, like, cousin or something, but the cop didn't believe her at all. Detective, I don't know what his name was, but he was wonderful. In this movie, I mean.
Oh, yeah, what was his name? Oh, well, whatever. I don't know.
He was just, like, so hard-boiled, and grizzled. I don't know.
Like, what am I gonna do if I actually investigate this case? You think we can get answers to my questions? And solve the murder or whatever? But another thing, it's like at one point it's like she's like going and she's gonna go confront the other girls or whatever, and then that she goes to a party and that frat guy tries to rape her, and then she escapes and she gets
terrifying.
That was terrifying.
And happens every day. And murder on college. I mean, murder. Rape on college campuses.
Yes, no, that was terrifying and awful, and he was disgusting. And isn't that the guy at the beginning that tried to kiss her?
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah, no, he was disgusting. But so then she gets in her car, and so here's the sequence of events as I understood it. So she gets stopped at a checkpoint. Or she gets pulled over. I don't remember which. I was folding laundry. But either way, she gets stopped by the police. They ask her to roll down her window. They ask her name, like, are you... whatever her name was. She's like...
Lisa Connors.
Lisa Connors. Are you Lisa Connors? She's like, yes, I am. And he's like, did you just leave a frat party on such and such street? She's like, yes, I did. And then the other cop illegally searches her car, finds a bag of weed in the back seat. That was seatbelted into the car. And then she's arrested. So somebody called the police, said Lisa Connors just left this party, and she has a bag of weed. She has an ounce of weed, like, seatbelted into her back seat. And no one thinks that that's suspicious. Not one person thinks that that's weird. Like, in fact, her mother thinks she has a drug problem and needs to go to rehab.
She gets lit off.
Yeah, and when her mother said, "We'll go get you some help," heck, I'll even go with you. It's like, what do you mean?
Like, what are you talking about?
Like with your mom.
And she's like, "Mom,
like, are you admitting to your drug problem, Mom? I mean, like, what's happening here?"
It's just one thing about Lisa Connors that I will say is that from the beginning of the movie, she's not an idiot.
No.
She's got a number of other qualities that, like, I probably wouldn't care for in a friend. She seems very close-minded.
She's not a very good writer, apparently.
She's very close-minded. She can't do with little blue hair.
I'm just saying.
A little dancing.
But she doesn't seem like she's an idiot. And so it's just like, all of a sudden, like, her mom, after 18 years of all of a sudden, like, within a week, she's got a drug problem, and she's stupid enough to leave her weed seatbelted in the back seat.
We know she was a latchkey child. We know she's been fending for herself, like, her entire life, because her mom was a former Mean Girl sorority person who is now a high-powered attorney, banker, something.
Realtor? They always seem like they're realtors in these movies. The moms.
I just wonder what happens to, like, mean girls that grow up to, like, have children.
They neglect them.
But for the better, because Lisa turned out not a mean girl.
No, she seemed very capable and very smart, very determined. She's very determined to get that job at the school newspaper.
And she thought for herself, you know. No. She was like, no, I'm not going to give up my identity.
When nobody believed in her, she believed in herself.
Wait, so do you both liked her, like, as a leading lady in this movie? Like, you liked Hilary Swank's character?
She was fine. She was largely inoffensive. Okay. She was just kind of lame. She seemed like kind of a lame person. Like, I wouldn't want to hang out with her.
I wouldn't want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
Like,
no. Zach Morris could have probably done a lot better on that canvas, right?
Oh. Zach.
I mean, they deserved each other.
I don't know why he chose to play it the way he did, but he just was, like, skeevy from start to finish. And there's also one moment that I loved, which is so funny. It was the moment where they had their first fight during her Hell Week, and she, like, gets fired from the paper because her work's not up to snuff. And then Zach runs after her, and he's like, "Lisa, come on! Like, I thought we had something," and he's like yelling at her, like, and stop, like as if yelling at her is gonna make her, like, stay or love him. And
that's when I was like, "Isn't Hell Week a week? So you haven't seen her in a week, and you're having this freak out?"
Yeah. It's like get it together. He's like such a freak. But then the very next scene is her walking up to him, swimming in a pool, and she's like, "You're really hard to track down." I'm like, didn't you just see him at the paper? Like, he's on the paper. What are you talking?
And then there was that other time, like, right after...
That was, like, some bad editing.
It was bad editing.
There was another one, like, right after Six died, and she's, like, sitting out on some steps or whatever, and then he comes up to her and he's like, "Nobody's seen you for hours. I've been looking everywhere."
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Like, what are you talking about?
For hours. Like, what are you... Yeah. There was some weird editing. And just, like, when he picked her up out of the blue in the woods, it's like, the whole time I'm like, how did he know? He's in on it. He's like, "I've been driving all night, baby sweetie, honey."
Why weren't the cops
like, if this was like,
at that point?
They were, but he was just sitting on his ass. Like, the mom was sitting in the detective's office, so it's like they knew. And he was like, "Yeah, we've got, people out there looking for her." But it was up to Zach Morris and his stuff. You know what? If this movie was in 2015, he would have been the kind of guy that would have put, like, a GPS tracker app on her phone. So he would know where she is at all times. Like, he's just creepy as fuck. If there was a sequel to this movie, it would be like, how do I get out of my abusive relationship that I stumbled into at college? Yeah, it would turn into like that Fred Savage, Candace Cameron movie.
Yeah, that's the next step of this. We see where it's going.
Or that Tiffany Amber Thiessen movie where she marries the guy in the Navy.
Rocky, how are we on time?
I think we should wrap it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so should we go to favorite characters? We already know Jules' favorite character.
Well, Jules, your favorite character?
It was the hair.
The hair of the dean.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite character, Jordan?
I was kind of torn in this movie. I think at the end of the day, I'm going with Blue. I just really...
Oh, yeah, Blue.
I wish we could have seen more of her story.
Me too. I wish we could follow her.
Did, yeah. That seemed like a way more interesting movie. Though I wouldn't have really wanted to listen to her music the whole time.
No, her music was terrible. That was the other thing, too. It's like, I think with her character, earlier you described her as a punk, but, like, she also had, like, I think that she was a mixture of just, like, punk and, like, goth and, like, I don't know, a bunch of things.
She didn't know what she wanted to do. She just walked into a Hot Topic and was like, I'll take one of everything.
One of everything. And dye these hairs a color.
And what happens if she changes her hair color?
It's on sale? I'll take it.
It's very literal.
Yeah, I thought about that too. But I think this is what you do when you're like an 18, 19-year-old. Like you're like, I'm Blue now. Okay, that's who I am. This is how I look. This will never change. And then you'll be like 28, and you're like, that whole Blue thing, you guys. Go back to my real birth Christian name.
Or just like people just like, so why did they call you Blue? And like, yeah, because when I was like 18, I would always dye my hair blue, and I don't know, it just stuck. And I mean, you can call me Sarah if you want. It's fine. Some people call me Blue. It's weird.
I also really liked Terry.
Which one was Terry? Oh.
Terry was like the Incredible
The
Hulk.
aggro girl.
Yeah, she was just violently mean. Rocky, who's your favorite character?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Fat Paige. Because exactly, that's why, because somebody has to love Fat Paige. Somebody has to love her. She was the
she
first.
Really got the short end of every.
She really did the first of every psychological torture. Because we didn't even really touch on very much, like that one hazing ritual where they had to all get in their bikinis and then get up on the table. Like we mentioned it, but like that's so crazy. They had to get up on the dining room table in bikinis while they circled their fat areas with markers and then called them names like thunder thighs and baby breasts and like Jesus.
Which is why I referred to Six as thunder thighs earlier. That is not my name for her. That is Terry's terrible name for her. Because Six was fit, okay?
They were all fit. Fat Amy or Fat Paige is not fat.
Fat Paige is not fat.
No, Fat Paige was not fat.
Like at all, she had a terrible
horrible
haircut, but
this is one of those hazing rituals that like I've read about. It's like the classic, and sometimes I've heard that they would get like the fraternity brothers to come in and actually be the ones to circle the shit.
Are you serious? That's a real thing?
Yes, I remember reading
real
about
people
that,
do in real life.
Yes, this is all based in reality, you guys. All these movies are so true. You don't even
know. That's true. They are all very true.
That's horrifying.
I know, hazing's bad.
All right, you want to? Would you all? I know it was the first time you all have seen it. Apparently, would you? Do you recommend this movie? Did you like it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Okay.
And plus, on YouTube, it came in 6 parts, so it was nice little bite-sized chunks, and I could go and do other things while I was watching it. So, and it ended. Each chunk ended on a nice, bomb moment. Yeah. So I appreciated that. Yeah. So thank you, whoever uploaded that to YouTube.
I don't think it was Jumanjimon.
No, it wasn't. It was someone else. I don't remember their name. Well, but finally, did you guys learn any life lessons from this movie?
Hazing's bad.
Hazing's so bad, you guys.
Hazing's really bad.
We shouldn't do
Also, cranks are stupid.
All we did was hit you with the car. All we did was hit you with the car. It's a prank. Get over it.
It's a prank.
You can't walk now.
It's a prank.
And also
Except I like...
Oh, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say also to all those 18-year-old girls, if he nags you on the first date and implies that you're stupid because you haven't read a book, his ass needs to go to the curb.
A specific book, not just
yes. No, a specific book that he happens to be.
Dusty book. It's not even in print anymore. Oh, you haven't read that special edition? No, haven't. Won't. Mark Paul, you creep. But in his defense, he's also like finding himself.
I mean, that's true, but still,
he's just doing it wrong.
You don't get to be a douchebag while you're doing it.
Nope.
Are you want to wrap this up, Rocky? I feel like.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you. We're done.
We are done. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys go and check out Dying to Belong because it's pretty damn good, I think, as far as Lifetime movies go. And just want to thank you guys again. Jules, thank you for joining me, and Jordan.
Yeah.
And I'm Rocky, and this was Time of My Lifetime, and thank you again for listening. We will see you again very, very soon. All right, bye, Erff.
Bye.
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 Bye.